Hello and welcome. My name is Desiree Shaw. I'm a psychotherapist and I vlog and I podcast about mental health and men's mental health, relationships and all things to do with mental health. Racism. Why I believe it's actually a mental illness. It's probably one of the mental illnesses that we inflict on each other based on what we're thinking and feeling. So a behaviour can only be performed based on the thought process that takes place and the emotions that are generated. That's fact, okay? You don't just do anything, you do what you do based on what you're thinking and what you emotionally are drawn towards doing. It's really quite understandable when we recognise that racism, which is an oppression of a particular type of people based on the power of that person who is being racist. So not everyone can be racist. We're really confused about that. Racism is about oppression and power, being able to cause harm to a person's lifestyle based on the power and position of the person who is being racist. So it's only those who have the ability to affect housing, promotional job prospects, where you live, how you sustain your health, all of that. So if you don't have any power in that, you can't be racist. I know you're thinking, what's she talking about? You can't. You can be prejudiced though. Yeah, you can be prejudiced, but you can't be racist. Two different things. One is actually about oppression and dislike, but power, which is racism, and prejudice is actually about not liking a particular type of person based on their sex, their gender, their culture, what they look like, all of those things, which are quite phenomenal that we are in 2020 and still having these problems with people. So let me explain when I say some mental illness. So a belief, when we hold strong beliefs about something, we act on them. So if you have a belief that at your core you're not good enough, you'll behave in ways that will be self-defeating and you will be responded as though you're not good enough. Now, when you're racist, it's normally something that has been taught, yeah? So there's been an indoctrination of a particular type that says this race of people. In fact, it's really dumb to even say that as people there is a race, because actually there isn't. There isn't a race. Because we're all the part of the same race, which is the human race, but in that we have culture and all the different cultures and the diversity, which is a nice word we like to use. We like to say we're going to tolerate each other, meaning we don't really like each other. We're just going to be tolerated by certain types of people who may not like us to stop them from acting out based on what they believe. So when a person has a particular belief and it's embedded in them, they've had this belief based on their childhood, based on things they picked up when they were young, encounters that they've had. And in these beliefs there'll be certain, little facts that they'll put in their fact file. So these type of people, they eat this food and therefore they look like this or they smell like this and they're different to us and we don't like that because of whatever bizarre reason. Now, because it's all based on a thought process and it's a continuous thought process, it's a process which goes on and on and on and on. And it takes with it emotions and then behaviours come out. This is CBT, right? Your thoughts, emotions, behaviour. When you act on irrational thoughts, now it's irrational to think that a person, because of their sex, their sexual orientation, their culture, whatever, their status, is less than another person is irrational, because ultimately we're all the same people. But it's irrational, and when it's irrational, this is when it comes with lots of demands. So a racist person will have irrational thoughts such as, that those kinds of people, sometimes ethnic minorities, which is also another label, which is not something I perpetuate, but just so that we understand. But ethnic minorities can recognise that in some cases we're not accepted, or we're seen as those types of people based on a irrational thought. And the racist active person delivers these thoughts and these ideologies about racism behind demands. Okay, now remember, we looked at the demands before in all of my earlier videos. A demand is a thing which constricts you and is very rigid, and racism is all about demands. You must not, they must not live near me, they must not come near me, they shouldn't do this. It's a lot of demands. Once I used to work with young people for over 16 years, and I stopped. It was very harrowing, but one of the reasons was when I was with in a particular area with one particular person who was particularly racist, and he was white English, and there was a lot of racism coming out, and he didn't like anybody that was not white, but I was alright. So his irrational beliefs had been altered by meeting somebody that he thought was okay. The problem was he decided I was different because he had to alter his thinking in order to accept me as a human being, because his irrationality, it didn't fit. It didn't fit that he was comfortable with me. So his demands were people like me he shouldn't speak to, and people like me are lesser than him. And he found it very difficult. And this is when I could see he was really confused and conflicted about things, because he couldn't manage based on the fact that I'm from an ethnic minority group which he actually does not like. So he had to remove me. It's a mental illness. This is why I think racism is a mental illness which can be cured. So if you do know anybody that is racist, I think it would make perfect sense if we actually held vigil groups of CBT for racist groups and recognise what they were really saying at the core. Because at the core of racism is a particular group of people who believe they're superior, that I must be the best, I must be entitled, I must have, it must be about me. It's irrational, and that's coming from a place of actually feeling unworthy. When somebody has to oppress you based on their thoughts and feelings about themselves, they're actually the ones who feel unworthy, which is why they've got to enforce their feelings and their thoughts in such a way, which is a mental illness. So I'm actually stating that racism is a mental illness that can be cured with CBT. But it's interesting how we do this when we put up all kinds of barriers against another type of person based on what they believe, based on religion as well, based on all sorts of things, because we're concerned about our own superiority, our own sense of worth. I'm going to go into it a little bit more. I'm going to also talk about how in this society the pressure we're putting on particular minority groups in the focus of religion. But that will be coming up next. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Desiree Shaw. I'm a psychotherapist, and I practice at the Priory and privately. I'm on a mission to make therapy accessible and change the world, one thought at a time. I vlog on a Monday, Tortured Superhero, and Friday, Relationship SOS. And in between that, I do a lot of random other vlogs. So Mondays and Fridays are my official days of a particular production that I put out. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, like, share, share. And also listen out for my podcasts that come out on a Monday, Mindful Mondays, Friday, which is Relationship Fridays. Okay, so see you on the next video when I'm going to talk about racism and Muslims. Ooh. Let's see what happens there. Bye for now.